Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive, into the world of American manufacturing. It's a world, full of exciting changes right now.
Yeah.
A lot going on. We've got this McKinsey article from July 2024
Mm-hmm.
called "Automation and the Talent Challenge in American Manufacturing," and
Yeah,
it's really something.
it is.
I think you'll agree.
It really captures, I think, the essence of the kind of the big shifts that are happening in the industry right now. There's just this incredible demand for workers
Right.
and skilled workers at that. But then at the same time, we've got this rise of automation.
Yeah, and the article starts out with some pretty wild numbers about the talent shortage we're seeing. Like, get this, manufacturing job openings
Oh, yeah.
have doubled
I know. It's crazy.
since before the pandemic.
It's unbelievable.
That's got to be putting a ton of pressure on companies trying to, find people, keep people.
It's a constant struggle. It really is. And it's not just, the sheer volume of openings that are out there, but it's also the rate at which people are leaving these jobs.
About the turnover.
Yeah, that turnover's crazy.
Yeah.
In 2023, over a third
Wow.
of manufacturing workers left their jobs.
A third?
That's like a revolving...
So it's a revolving door.
It's a revolving door. And so you can imagine, I mean, you've probably experienced this,
Oh, yeah.
when you have to train new people all the time and just get them up to speed.
I get stressed out.
It's...
Training one new intern. Like, can you imagine, like, a third of your workforce
Yeah, I know.
walking out the door every year?
It's a nightmare. And the impact that it has on, maintaining productivity, the quality of the products that you're making.
Yeah.
It's a huge challenge.
So where does automation, where does that fit into all of this?
That's the really interesting part.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, we've all thought about automation as being, a way to improve efficiency, improve quality, improve safety. Yeah. All good things, of course. But this McKinsey article is saying we need to think bigger.
Okay.
They're saying that, maybe automation is a way to address this talent shortage.
So are you saying that instead of thinking about robots as these job stealers,
Yeah.
they could actually be, allies
Partners.
in this fight to get workers?
Exactly. I think, one way to think about it is maybe by automating these like really repetitive jobs.
Yeah.
Often these are physically demanding jobs that are just hard to fill in the first place and that lead to a lot of that turnover that we talked about.
Right.
You could actually make the jobs that are left
More appealing.
more appealing. Yeah.
And that's interesting. So it's not about, robots replacing humans altogether.
Right.
It's robots doing the jobs that maybe humans don't want to do in the first place.
Exactly.
And that opens up
It creates space.
space for new roles that are
Yeah.
more skilled,
Mm.
that require more of that technical know-how.
Right. And it's becoming, I think, more and more feasible to do this too.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I found really interesting in this article is they talk about the cost of robots
Uh-huh.
and the fact that the cost of robots has actually gone down by over 50% in the last 30 years.
Robots are half the price they were 30 years ago?
Yeah.
That's,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, I mean, that completely changes
Big game.
what companies can do. I mean, think about like a mid-sized manufacturer,
Right.
that kind of price reduction could be the difference between automating a whole line and not being able to do it.
I know. It makes it...
And that just, has implications for how competitive they are.
Exactly. The return on investment
Right.
for automation is looking a lot more attractive. So
Right.
it's becoming a real possibility. And it's not just theoretical,
Right.
They actually highlight a real world example in the article of a global consumer packaged goods company
Okay.
that was having these exact same hiring challenges. And they decided to really embrace automation.
Okay, I'm curious. What did they do and what happened?
They decided to go all in.
Okay.
And they invested in 7 new automated lines
Wow.
for food processing and packaging.
So high speed.
High speed. Yeah.
7 lines. That's a big investment.
It is.
What were the results?
And they saw, some pretty amazing results.
Like, what kind of numbers are we talking?
Well, their productivity increased by over 70%
Wow.
for processing
Okay.
and a whopping 280%
280%.
for filling and packaging.
That's incredible.
I know.
But I imagine it wasn't just, about churning out more product,
Yeah.
it probably changed their whole approach to how they manage their talent, right?
That's exactly right. They really saw automation as an opportunity to upskill their workforce.
Okay.
They worked with local authorities and community colleges to create training programs to train a whole new generation of workers
Oh, wow.
who could run and maintain this new equipment. So they turned what could have been a real, kind of crisis
Yeah.
into an opportunity to actually level up
Yeah.
their workforce.
So it sounds like this company really, they kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's be honest here. Rolling out automation on that kind of scale,
Right.
it's not a walk in the park.
It's not easy.
I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of bumps in the road.
There are. And that's why in the article,
Yeah.
they go on to identify 3 key success factors.
So like the magic ingredients
The magic ingredient.
to make this work.
Yeah.
Because you can't just like throw robots at a problem
Exactly.
and hope for the best, right?
No, you need a plan.
There needs to be some thought behind this.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are these magic ingredients for automation success?
Well, the first one is you need a really robust business case.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just calculating
A cost.
cost.
Robots versus human labor. So it's not just about saving money.
It's not just about saving money. It's about looking at the bigger picture.
What else should companies be thinking about?
They should be thinking about things like productivity gains,
Okay.
quality improvements,
Mm-hmm.
enhancements to safety,
Yeah.
and even, reducing the reliance on specific employee skills
Oh, interesting.
that might be lost if an employee leaves.
Because that can happen, right, with turnover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's really about making sure that you're making a strategic investment
Right.
that's going to benefit the business in the long run.
Okay, so you got to make sure it makes sense
Yeah.
for the long haul.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's one ingredient. What's the next success factor?
The next one is agility.
Agility.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not talking about like robots doing parkour in the factory.
No. We're not talking about robots doing parkour.
Here.
But we are talking about companies needing to be more agile
Okay.
in how they implement automation.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? I mean, what does that mean?
I think the old way of thinking about automation was that it was this massive
Looking away.
overhaul.
Rip everything out, start from scratch.
Yeah, this huge project
Yeah,
that takes forever to plan and even longer to implement.
right.
And I think what we're learning is that that's probably not the best way to go about it.
Okay, so instead of like, one gigantic overhaul,
Yeah.
it's more about identifying maybe smaller areas where automation could really make a difference.
Exactly.
And doing it in kind of smaller chunks.
Think of it like a surgical strike.
Okay.
You're really targeting
You're okay.
the areas that are going to have the biggest impact. And they give a great example in the article, actually,
Oh, yeah?
of a company that was struggling with a bottleneck
Okay.
in their bottling plant.
Oh, okay.
And instead of trying to automate the entire bottling process, they thought, okay, let's really focus on this one bottleneck.
Right.
And they used something called machine vision technology.
Okay, I'm not an engineer. What is machine vision?
So basically, it's like giving
The robot eye.
the robot eyes, exactly.
Okay.
It's using cameras and software to allow the robot to see things that are happening,
Okay.
and often to catch things that a human eye would miss, especially at high speeds.
Right.
And in this case, the machine vision not only sped up the bottling process, but it actually improved quality.
No.
Because it was able to spot errors in real time that the human eye just couldn't catch.
Oh, wow. So they got like a double whammy.
Double whammy.
Got the efficiency boost.
Yeah.
But also the quality went up.
And they reduced waste
Yeah.
because they're catching errors earlier in the process.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is.
So we've got a robust business case.
Mm-hmm.
We've got agility.
Yep.
What's the third ingredient?
The third ingredient is change management.
Okay.
And this is maybe the most important one of all.
I mean, that makes sense. I feel like no matter how amazing the technology is at the end of the day,
Yeah.
this is all about people.
It is about people.
Right. And so we need to be thinking about how these changes affect the people doing the work.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the things that companies should be doing when it comes to change management?
I think the first thing is to acknowledge that jobs are going to change.
Right.
And people are going to need new skills.
Yeah. I mean, and those could be kind of scary conversations to have, right? Like things are changing.
It can be,
You got to learn new stuff.
but it's essential to have those conversations.
Right.
And in the article, they highlight 4 key elements of a successful change management program.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first one is that leaders in the company need to really demonstrate.
Walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Not just talk the talk.
Exactly. Show their commitment to this new way of doing things.
Okay.
The second is communication. There needs to be clear and consistent communication about what's happening, why it's happening, and what it means for employees. And it's not just one big announcement. It's ongoing.
Right.
Keeping people in the loop every step of the way.
It's got to be a dialogue.
It's a dialogue, exactly. The third is training.
Right.
Companies need to invest in training programs that will give people the skills they need to operate and maintain this new technology.
So it's not just about the technical skills.
No, it's also about, problem-solving, critical thinking, adaptability.
These soft skills.
The soft skills.
That become even more important, I would think.
Absolutely.
When you've got all this technology around you, it's about, being able to think on your feet and to solve problems that maybe the robot can't solve.
Right. And to learn.
Yeah.
To continuously learn.
Right. The technology is going to keep changing.
Right.
So.
It's about creating a culture of continuous learning where people see automation as an opportunity.
Right.
Not a threat.
It's an opportunity to grow.
Exactly.
And to evolve.
And the last piece of that is measurement. You need to have ways to measure how things are going. Are the training programs working? Are people feeling supported?
So you can make adjustments along the way.
Exactly. So it's not just a one-and-done thing.
It's a process.
It's a process. It's an ongoing dialogue.
Yeah.
It's about bringing people along on the journey.
Exactly.
And making sure they feel supported throughout this transition.
And that they feel empowered by this technology, not threatened by it.
It's not about replacing people. It's about augmenting.
Exactly.
That's the idea. Okay, so we've talked about the why of automation, why it's important, and these magic ingredients, these key success factors to making it work. But I'm curious, where does automation actually fit in? Are there specific areas
of a factory?
Absolutely.
Where it makes the most sense to implement it.
There are.
And we'll get into all
after a quick break.
Right after this.
Stay with us.
All right, so we're back and ready to kind of dig into, where automation actually makes the most sense on the factory floor. Before the break, we were talking about how companies need to really think strategically about where to apply this technology.
Yeah, and while automation can transform, pretty much every part of a manufacturing business, there are definitely some areas that are better suited for it right now, than others.
Okay. So let's start with those end-of-line tasks we mentioned. The palletizing, depalletizing, moving materials around.
Right.
What makes those jobs such prime candidates for automation?
Well, I think a lot of those tasks are, they're very physically demanding.
Yeah.
They're repetitive.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that all day long.
Exactly. And so, it's not surprising that companies have trouble, filling those positions.
Right.
And that the turnover is really high.
Yeah, and I bet those tasks are also prone to human error.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you're doing the same thing over and over again for hours on end.
Fatigue sets in.
You get tired, you make mistakes.
And that's where robots,
can really shine.
They can shine, exactly.
They don't get tired. They don't get bored.
They can work 24/7 if you need them to.
Right.
And they're incredibly precise.
And, we're also seeing more and more of these collaborative robots, right?
Cobots?
Yeah, cobots.
Yeah.
These robots that can actually work safely alongside humans.
Right. In the same workspace.
Yeah, so it's not about replacing the worker entirely. It's about creating this, this dynamic duo.
Partnership.
Yeah, where the robot and the human are working together, each, taking advantage of their strengths.
Yeah, imagine a scenario where you have a cobot that's handling the heavy lifting, moving boxes around, but then you have a human worker who's overseeing the process, making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Quality control.
Quality control, yeah. Making adjustments if something goes wrong.
Right.
It really frees up the human workers.
To focus on those more
higher level tasks.
Yeah, those things that require that human judgment and problem solving.
Exactly.
Okay, so end-of-line tasks seem like a natural fit for automation.
Yeah.
What about quality control?
Quality control is another area where automation is having a huge impact.
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit earlier, but I'm curious, how is technology actually changing the game in that area?
Well, we're seeing, more and more companies use these advanced sensors and machine vision systems to automate inspections.
Okay.
that, humans used to do manually.
So it's like giving robots super senses.
Yeah, they have these incredible capabilities now.
Yeah. Instead of relying on human eyes, which, as we talked about, can get tired, can miss things.
Right.
Now we have machines that can, detect even the tiniest imperfections.
And they can do it much faster.
Right.
And with a much higher degree of accuracy.
Okay, so what kinds of things can these systems actually do? Like, how does it work?
Well, they can use, lasers, cameras, and all sorts of other sensors to measure dimensions, to check for, cracks or defects, to identify color variations.
Okay.
All sorts of things.
And I imagine that, that level of precision and speed, I mean, that's got to be a game changer for companies that need to maintain really high-quality standards for their products.
Absolutely. I mean, it reduces waste. It reduces rework, because you're catching those defects so much earlier in the process.
Before it's too late.
Exactly. And, beyond just the inspection itself, all the data that's being generated by these systems is incredibly valuable.
Because it can tell you a lot about your process.
Exactly. You can start to identify trends and patterns that you might not be able to see with the human eye.
And potentially even predict problems before they happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about what tasks to automate, but what about the how?
Right.
What does it actually look like to implement these technologies?
Well, I think the key here is to remember that agile approach that we talked about earlier. You don't have to automate everything at once.
Right.
In fact, it's probably better to start small.
Oh, okay.
And really target those specific areas.
Find those pain points.
Find those pain points, exactly.
Where automation can have the biggest impact.
Yeah, whether it's a bottleneck in your production line or, an area where you're seeing a lot of errors or inefficiencies.
Right.
Find those areas and then find the right technology to address that specific problem.
So you got to do your research.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're choosing a solution.
Yeah.
That's actually going to solve the problem you're facing.
Exactly. And it's often helpful to bring in some experts.
Oh.
There are companies out there that specialize in, different types of automation.
Right.
Whether it's robotics or machine vision or AI and data analytics.
Yeah.
There's a whole ecosystem out there.
Yeah. It can be a little overwhelming to navigate all of that on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done your research, you've got your expert advice, you've chosen your technology, now what?
Well, now it's time to integrate it into your operations.
How do you do that?
And again, this is where that agile implementation approach comes in handy.
Okay.
You might start with something relatively simple, like a robotic arm for palletizing. Get that up and running, make sure it's working smoothly, and then maybe you add a machine vision system to your quality control process.
Okay.
And eventually, maybe you integrate all of that with your data analytics platform.
Right, so it's all about building.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's not a destination.
It's not something you do overnight.
Exactly, and it requires collaboration, across different teams in the company.
The engineers, the operations people, the IT folks.
Everyone needs to be on board.
HR,
everybody.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's not just about the technology.
It's about the people.
It's about the people, exactly.
And, we talked a lot about the technical aspects of automation.
Right.
But, I think we really need to make sure that we're not forgetting about the human side of this.
Absolutely.
How do companies make sure that, their workforce feels supported, that they feel empowered during this, this transition to a more automated workplace?
That's a great question. And that's something we're going to delve into a little bit deeper in the next segment.
All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, so we're back and ready to really dig into this human side of automation. I think it's really easy to get caught up in all the, the exciting technology, the potential for efficiency, but we can't forget about the people.
Right.
The ones actually doing the work. Yeah, automation can be, transformative for manufacturing.
Right.
But it can also be, disruptive if we don't do it right.
If we're not careful.
So how do we make sure that this transition to a more automated workplace,
to a world with more robots,
is a positive one for everybody?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's a big question.
Well, I think communication is a big part of it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Companies really need to be upfront with their employees about what's happening.
Be transparent.
Yeah, and why.
Exactly.
Explain the benefits of automation.
Right.
But also be honest about the challenges.
Yeah.
And address, any concerns people might have.
Fears.
Head on.
Head on, yeah.
Because, people get nervous when they hear the word automation.
Right.
And it's not just about, one big announcement at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's about that ongoing dialogue.
Keeping people informed.
Keeping people in the loop.
Yeah, throughout the process. Yeah.
Giving them chances to, ask questions.
Yeah.
Share their concerns.
Voice their opinions.
Really make them feel like they're part of this process.
Yeah.
Not just, pawns.
Right.
In some big automation scheme.
Exactly.
And speaking of, feeling valued, what about training?
Yes.
What about upskilling?
Absolutely essential.
Because the jobs are going to change.
Right.
So people are going to need
new skills.
To adapt.
Companies need to invest in robust training programs.
Give people those tools that they need.
Yeah, to operate.
To thrive.
To maintain these new technologies.
And it's not just about the technical skills, right?
Yeah.
It's also about those, problem solving, critical thinking.
Adaptability.
The soft skills.
Those human skills.
Yeah.
That will become even more important.
Even more valuable.
In an automated world.
Right, because at the end of the day, a robot can only do so much. It still takes a human to think critically, to solve those complex problems.
To make those judgment calls.
Yeah.
To think creatively.
So it's about, helping people become more tech savvy.
Right.
But also more, adaptable, resilient in the face of change.
And really, I think it's about preparing people.
Right.
Not just for the jobs of today, but for jobs that
we don't even know exist yet.
We haven't even thought of yet.
And that's exciting.
It is exciting.
And a little scary, too.
A little bit.
But I think if we do this right, this could be a really positive thing.
It could be.
And it's not just about, individual workers.
No.
This transition.
It's about communities.
It affects communities.
Whole communities.
If you've got a major employer in a small town, and they automate, a big chunk of their workforce.
It has a ripple effects.
That's going to have a huge impact on that community.
Throughout the entire community.
So companies need to think about, their role in that broader ecosystem.
Their responsibility.
Yeah, their responsibility to those communities.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's partnering with schools, community colleges to develop, training programs that are tailored
to the needs.
And the needs of that specific workforce.
For the local workforce.
And it's about thinking outside the factory walls.
Yeah, taking a more holistic approach.
So we've talked about the importance of communication, the importance of training, community engagement.
Yeah.
What about leadership?
Oh, leadership is huge.
I mean, they got to set the tone right.
They got to set the tone.
Communicate the vision.
The vision.
And really be champions.
Champions.
For this change.
Yeah, be excited about it.
But also, be advocates for their workforce.
Right.
Making sure that everyone feels supported.
Included.
Throughout this whole process.
Yeah.
So it's about leading with empathy.
Uh-huh.
Understanding.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that change can be really scary for people.
It can be.
And providing that guidance, that support.
Reassurance.
To help people navigate this new terrain.
This new landscape.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into automation and this talent challenge, I think one of the key takeaways for me is that, technology is just one part of the equation.
Yeah.
The human element is just as important.
I completely agree.
It's not just about efficiency.
No.
It's about creating
a better future.
A better future for everyone.
For everybody.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.